Hey guys, what's up? Unrested back for one more video before I head out. I'm literally about to drive uh, to the hotel that I'm going to be staying at before I launch off to the airport and head to Japan. We're doing one more Jvlogger today. We've been doing a lot of this nostalgia on Jvloggers, and today our Jvlogger is Ryan Boundless. People have requested this one, so Ryan, please know there's still people out there who miss you, who love you. You are missed in the Jvlog community. Ryan Boundless, the YouTuber who didn't want to be in Japan. How did I first hear about Ryan Boundless? For me, I first heard about him because people started asking me questions about things Ryan was talking about. Are portions in Japan way too small? Are the police racist in Japan? Do you get asked the same questions over and over again? Um, you know, is getting a job in Japan the worst thing ever, where you'll work for a corporate company that has no respect for you and hates you as a gaijin? Those kind of questions I started to get asked, and I was like, where am I getting all these questions from? Like, where are they hearing this? And when I asked, of course, my viewers told me Ryan Boundless. Ryan Boundless, Dream Crusher series, crushing your dreams about Japan. And some people may think that I don't like or disapprove or don't feel Ryan Boundless is justified in his videos. And to that I say no, not at all. I think Ryan came from a very different situation in Japan where things were kind of grim for him. You've got to understand that when he came here, it all began with him being in a relationship, and I don't know how deep I want to get into it because this is really his business. But he was pretty much married, and he was in a relationship. He got married, and then one day that girl divorced him while he was in Japan. He was more than willing to make everything work, but this girl just wouldn't have it. She left him for another man, and from that day on, he wasn't really living the dream in Japan anymore. He was living a pretty dark period of his life, and I think that really was reflected in his videos. I have to say he was very brave at the time because he did a whole series covering like his depression and his battle with mental illness and stuff that he was going through post divorce, which I don't think a lot of people, especially the time where he was making stuff like that, I don't think a lot of people were brave enough to go through stuff like that. A lot of guys will talk about like, I didn't need her anyway, and I'm better off now. I'm a man's man and I'll be fine. And, like, he was just exposing his soul and saying he was very deeply hurt, and he couldn't believe things had worked out this way. And I had a lot of respect for that. I thought, like, this is like super brave. I don't know if I would come on here and talk about, if my marriage had failed or something like that. I don't know if I would be brave enough to do that. I think I might hide away from the internet. But here's Ryan spilling his guts on the internet back before anybody talked about mental health, back before there was TikTok, back before there was a thumbs up or thumbs down on our videos. Ryan's out here spilling his guts and talking the truth of what it's like to go through a divorce in Japan. Nobody had a video up like that. But this also did kind of flavor his videos for the rest of the time he was here. He was very blunt and very crass with how he focused on the negative aspects of Japan. And people gave him a lot of shit. People gave him a lot of, trash talk and stuff like that. A lot of other Jvloggers would talk down about him. I made a few videos myself where I kind of joked about at times he was exaggerating, but there was truth. And I think that's the most important thing that I feel like everybody should take that away from his videos. Although they were negative, although they were bummers, although he did have a series called Dream Crusher, pretty much everything Ryan said was truth. He was talking about the worst parts of Japan and the worst aspects of the social constructs of Japan as well. And like that's every country. Every country has a trash aspect to it, a part that just sucks that you wish you could delete from that country. Japan's no different. America, where I live now, right now, is no different. There's horrible aspects of it. Let's go through some of the videos so you can get kind of a sense. If you weren't around during this time watching his videos, I'm going to give you some of, these aren't the exact titles, but these are kind of the themes. And then I'm going to kind of give my own sort of, I guess, 1-2 punch as far as how I agree with these negative aspects of Japan. Number one, don't come to Japan to teach. That was one of his main ones, and he did a lot of videos on just don't waste your time coming here to teach. And I gotta agree, especially right now when the pay is so trash. I mean, the pay for teaching in Japan right now is like only a couple dollars ahead of working at a conveni. Not to trash conveni workers, but that's mostly a job that's done right out of high school. If you're working like for high school pay after you've finished college, because you have to have a degree to work as a teacher in Japan, that's bullshit. Like, don't work for that money. Don't try to survive on the tiny pittance that they'll give you at these garbage, ikaiwas and stuff like that. I gotta agree with him, especially now in these days where Japanese yen is worthless. Like, I mean, it's almost half the amount of an American dollar right now. It's not really worth it. Um, and I even had a series recently. I had a video recently where it's like, should I move to Japan? And I said to a lot of people, no, not right now, unless you have another plan other than teaching. Everything is too expensive. I think that is the only one I'd probably say now. That's not as true. Actually, Japan is cheaper than America. When we first moved there, though, around the times that Ryan and I were there, things were more expensive. Back in 2007, you're paying $30 for a watermelon. You find in grapes that are worth $100, and you're like, what? Why would I pay that? Going out to eat was pretty expensive. You were looking at like $30 back in 2007. But see, the thing is, all those prices never changed. Like now, today, you could go to a pretty nice place to eat, and it's only $30, which that sounds like crazy cheap now, right? Like, because I can go to McDonald's in America and buy food for 4 people, and it's like $45. And that's the value meals, too. So in Japan, you can still go to a pretty decent place to eat for like 2 to 3 people and pay $30. Not the same in America. More expensive. Groceries more cheap in Japan now. A lot of stuff's way more cheap, and it's because salaries haven't gone up in a long time in Japan, and so they haven't been able to really raise the prices of stuff. Actually, rent too has not really gone up that much, and it's a lot cheaper. You could still probably rent a pretty decent place for $700 to $800 in Japan. It's gonna be small, but I mean, it's a place. What else does he have here? Food is too small. Yeah, food, I mean, the portions are much smaller. I don't know, like, you get used to it, though, after you've lived there a while. But there's sometimes, like, especially when you order a dessert in Japan, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, this is like half a scoop of ice cream. What the hell is this? There's a couple times. The worst I'd have to say is if you go to eat a steak at a nice steak restaurant, they'll sit there and like spend all this time like cutting it and grilling it for you and giving it to you like piece by piece, and you just always feel hungry. Like you're like, that wasn't like a full steak. Like that felt like 8 cubes of steak. Like, where the hell is my goddamn steak? Sorry, I'm being a bit rough with the language here. I got to be careful. I don't want to go too nuts on the language. It just, these are some things that definitely make you curse. Okay, the food is too small. I mean, the fast food's always the same size. Although when you get to the drinks are a lot smaller, and you always have to pay to refill your drink in Japan. So, yeah, I guess, there are smaller portions. I would still agree with that completely. I mean, the portions are much smaller, but I mean, some of us Americans, I think we need some smaller portions, if you know what I mean. Japanese oyaji will always be an asshole. Sorry, that's the way it's written. An oyaji is like an old man or an old person. And they'll always be racist to you. The most racism I have dealt with is mostly with older Japanese people. I think mostly just because they haven't had any kind of knowledge of the outside world. Like, they're very indigenous and never traveled outside of Japan, so they ask some questions that you're like, oh, dude, yeah, please don't ask that. Like, don't ask to touch my black friend's hair, okay? Don't ask me if my nose and my eyes are real nose. Like, that's not really a cool question to ask, bro. Come on, stop. Are you gangster? Are you Yakuza? It's like, you know Yakuza better than me. You live in your country, dude. Why would I know more about the Yakuza? Because of tattoos. All kinds of silly stuff. You'll get asked. Probably the rudest thing I ever got is I did have an old person one time on a bike going as fast as they could pass me because I think they were scared, but they told me kaede and go home to your country. And they like shoot me like get out of my country. Like, that was probably the rudest, most racist thing I ever had happen to me. Obviously, not earth shattering, but he dealt with a couple times like that too. He said, like some of the questions he got and stuff were like very racist and stuff like that. And let's see, police are assholes too. Yeah, the police. I definitely dealt with police being assholes. I was kind of lucky though. My last few years in Japan, when I was living in Osaka, the area I was in, I think the police just knew who I was, and they've never bothered me in the area I lived there. I don't know. I just had the low battery thing show up on screen, so it might have messed up this video. But guys, I just don't even have time to re-record. Sorry. Trying to go through this. Only got 5% left on the iPad that I'm recording on right now. Yeah, the police used to stop me and check if my bike was actually my bike, that I hadn't stolen it. Like, is my umbrella my umbrella? Did you not steal it? That kind of stuff. Weeaboos suck. Yeah, Ryan had a huge hate for weeaboos. His whole Dream Crusher series was pretty much made to get weeaboos to not come to Japan, which I kind of agree with too. I mean, I think if you have an image of Japan as this sort of anime wonderland, this like manga wonderland, that's a bad idea. Don't imagine Japan is like that and come here and live like that. You will never be Japanese. This is true. Even people like there was a guy named Debito, and he got married to a Japanese woman, had his gave up his his Canadian citizenship. Sorry, he was a Canadian before. Got his Japanese passport, changed his name to Kanji, and just still never felt like he was Japanese, which I understand. Like, he actually left the country eventually after he got divorced from his wife and stuff like that. I need to do a whole series on David. His story is pretty interesting, but I feel like there's no point in ever trying to become Japanese. You'll never be seen as Japanese. The closest you could become, and this is sad to say, is like if you're of some other Asian descent and then you get your citizenship changed to Japanese, I think that's the closest you could ever come to having Japanese people accept you as Japanese. Like, as a white or other colored person, you are not about to become Japanese or be accepted as Japanese ever, no matter how good your Japanese gets. Culturally insensitive, I kind of already went over that, where they, don't know anything about your country. But I mean, to be fair, we don't really know a lot about Japan. The questions I hear asked about Japan especially after I've moved back to America, can you speak Japan? That's my favorite question. Where in China is Japan? Or some of the kids at my school who would ask me, what state is Japan? I'd be like, oh no, this is not good. You're in middle school. You shouldn't be asking questions like that. These last two big ones, these were big on his Dream Crusher series. And if you don't know, like, I keep saying Dream Crusher. Dream Crusher was a series that he pretty much made to crush the dreams of anybody thinking moving to Japan would be this wonderland, which I get it, I understand. Japan is not a first world country. I understand why he says this, because there's certain things they do in Japan where you're just kind of like, why are we still doing this in the year 2000? Like, what? So, like, we still don't have central AC or heat. It's miserably hot throughout the summertime. Some schools still don't have air condition. There's buildings that are completely made of wood, but there is kind of a reason behind that, because they can survive earthquakes better. I don't know, the last one, fake politeness. Yeah, okay. I think there's fake politeness all over the world, but Japan is big on the fake politeness, where they'll, smile and nod their head to everything, or say maybe when really they want to say no, and they can't exactly help you with whatever your situation is. I've had that happen many times with banks, where bank people will be super polite and smile the whole time, but then not solve any of your problems, where you're like, I need this money exchanged, or I need to, open a new account. I need to change the name on this account. The kanji that I'm using on this account doesn't work with the things I'm trying to fill out online. Please show me what to do. And they're just kind of like, no, I can't. I don't know what to do. No, sorry. I'm still smiling, though. Have a great day. And you're just kind of like, oh, you're pretty useless. Thanks. So Ryan Boundless, he was in Japan, I believe, all the way till we got close to the big scare of 2020, which of course we can't mention because that'll get my video demonetized. And I believe that was the time that he made the move to Africa. And he is still there now. He is still updating, still doing YouTube videos. So he's not really a YouTuber who quit. He's just a YouTuber who quit being a Jvlogger, which is fine. And I gotta say, now, if you check out his channel and check out what Ryan Boundless is doing, I mean, the guy looks ultra happy. He's living his best life. I wish him nothing but the best, and I see like a good future for his channel because what he's doing is completely unique. There's not a lot of Africa-based vloggers out there, so he is doing something new and fresh, and he's got like this really positive, upbeat attitude, and he looks like he's killing it out there. I wish him nothing but the best, but he is the one Jvlogger I would say that he came to Japan and hated Japan, and his entire theme was the Jvlogger who hated Japan. My opinion on him, though, is that he was always polite to me in any interaction he had with me. He was never rude. Even when I dissed certain things in his videos where I was just like, okay, this is kind of true, but this is not true. Ryan's getting kind of crazy in this video. He was super polite. He'd be like, yeah, you're right. I probably was too much exaggeration with that. So, I mean, his dialogue with me was always super polite. Any other YouTuber I've ever talked to who's interacted with him said he was like a super nice guy in person. And he was never ever, like, he never held it against any of us when we would like call him out for going overboard on some of his extreme videos about hating Japan. The one I think that got the most clout for my channel was Ryan Boundless is Starving in Japan. And it was about Ryan had gone to a kombini and he had a whole video rant about how the kombini sandwiches only had one slice of ham in it and that he would literally starve if he tried to live off of kombini food. And he's right. I gave him some shit in that video, but he was right. I mean, the kombini sandwiches are garbage sandwiches. I wouldn't suggest them as like a healthy form of meal for the day. And they do always like, they have these weird ways of packing them where they fold the meat like multiple times to make it look like you have these multiple layers of meat, but then you open up the sandwich and it's like one piece of lettuce and like a piece of meat folded a million times to look like layers and layers upon meat. So that's my biggest memory of Ryan. And like I said, my opinion, nice guy, good interactions, good dialogue. And I think if he was ever your friend, he would be the type of blunt friend that might get you upset sometimes because he would be too honest with you, but he would be looking out for your best interest the whole time. I think, does that make sense? I hope you understand that description. Anyway, sorry to cut this video so short. This is like one of my shortest ones I've done in a long time. But I gotta go. I gotta get out of here and start heading onto a plane to get to Japan. I'll see any of you who said you wanted to meet up in Japan. I'll be making my future videos from there for the next 2 months. And I hope to get some great footage and some new ideas out there for you. We're going to continue with more of this nostalgia on the people who used to do videos as Jvloggers who no longer do. So I hope you've enjoyed this series so far. I think we're going to keep going down this route. And until next time, I've been Unrested, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Oh, wait. I've got like a bunch of new members. I've got to shout them out before this closes. Members, you guys are awesome. Even though I almost forgot you. We've got a bunch, so I've really got to make sure I do this. Bridget Walton, Yones G, Andy, Carolyn Markey, Mitchell, Koden Kopata. Your name is all together as katakana, so I don't know which part is the first name or which part is the last name, or if you put your first name last or your last name first. Impressive Tony, Matt Lee, Silver Stitch 28, Juzos Casirios, Murphy, Draz Creates, John Manbob, Light Lolouch, Smile Kita 13, Worm Self, William Adams, Chrissy Meow, Obscuric, Sriracha, Frorasu, No Dub Only Raw, Harry Richardson, Citrus, Steve Ring, Capybara Daimyo, Fat Jaskins, Sprinkly Donut, Yodadu, Luna Incola, Ricardo Contreras, Analoki, Slayer Duck, Blind Man Travels, Jonas Slocum, Ice Cold, Reinhard or Die Trying, Trek Nick, I am Sandpaper, and Aaron Spooner. Thank you guys. You guys rock so much. I'm going to try and record your video next so that normally I put it out on a Sunday, but Sunday I'm gone. I'm already on a plane. So I'm going to try and get your video out next and hopefully get you that members video before my day ends. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'm sorry for the speedy delivery. Have a great day.